All right, so hello everyone, and welcome to today's Fireside Chat, 5 Tips to Transform Your Marketing Operations. I'm Amy Baudouin, Senior Director here at Uptempo Product Marketing, and I'm delighted to be joined by Jessica Liu, Forrester Analyst. She's live from New York. I just had to do that. I know it's not Saturday night. Jessica provides assistance to B2C marketing professionals by advising them on strategies and technologies that matter to marketers to make sure they win, serve, and retain customers. Before moving into the marketing resource management arena at Forrester, she evaluated social technologies, including listening platforms, social ad tech, and social suites. Prior to that, she was on the agency side for over 10 years, helping her clients with digital go-to-market, acquisition, and retention strategies. So welcome today. Jackie Massmann, as you can see here, she is the Marketing, Budgeting, and Planning Analyst at Land O'Lakes, which is a Fortune 200 food production and agribusiness company. It's also a 100-year-old farmer and agriculture retailer member-owned cooperative, which is made up of dairy foods, animal nutrition, seed and crop production, and lastly, Truterra, a sustainability business. You may know Land O'Lakes best for its dairy products, especially their namesake butter. But the company also has an animal feed business and provides technical services to agricultural retailers and farmers to be more efficient and sustainable. The brand's purpose is to provide safe, sustainably sourced, and nutritious food to American customers while supporting rural farmers and communities. In this session, Jackie will talk about how she's joined Marketing Operations Department. She's now the Allocadia Administrator, which is an Uptempo product, to help drive adoption and take budget management to the next level. Thank you both for joining us today. Jessica is going to walk through how things should look in a perfect world when it comes to marketing operations with connected processes. And Jackie will really discuss, again, how she's driving adoption and really improving the entire financial management process at her organization. So just before we jump into this really exciting discussion, I just want to share who is Uptempo, because we've actually just rebranded not too long ago. We actually deliver marketing business acceleration to organization, which is a new operating model that gives CMOs clarity on the financial and business impact of their marketing efforts. We do this with marketing operations software that integrates planning, financial, work, and performance management so teams can plan better, pivot faster, spend smarter, and execute with confidence. And of course, gaining visibility, velocity, and agility is even more critical in a high inflation, pretty much almost a recession market. Some of our customers include big brands like Land O'Lakes, Cisco, Autodesk, Best Buy, Charles Schwab, Juniper Networks. One thing I noticed again with Land O'Lakes I'm very excited about is we will be sharing their butter board, which made me very hungry to look at afterwards, which is on Instagram. So at the end of the session, we welcome you to remain on the line. We will provide a 10-minute demo so you can actually see how our solution works in practice. This recording will be sent out to everyone tomorrow. All right, now let's dig into the discussion. So starting with you first, Jessica, why is it essential for marketers to connect planning all the way through to performance?
Great first question.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be blunt. The CMO really needs to own marketing again. We've had this rapidly shifting landscape in the last 5-10 years that has sort of presented both a crisis as well as opportunity. A crisis because, marketing scope has been contracting. Marketing has been ceding ground to groups like CX and data and analytics. And technology, consumer technology has been forcing a marketing reinvention. If you think about the array of devices and platforms and channels that consumers have to choose from today, it's overwhelming. And it's forced marketers to really move quickly, especially B2C marketers who are so consumer facing. And then the CMO's overall influence is waning, particularly on the B2C marketing side. CMOs have some of the highest turnover amongst the C-suite. So there has been a sort of crisis, feels like an extreme word, but like some negative points happening over the landscape in the last few years in marketing. But all of that kind of translates to opportunity, right? Like as the world enters kind of this current phase of volatility, there's global unrest, there's supply chain instability, there's economic turbulence, potential recession about to hit us. I think marketing leaders, and particularly B2C marketers, really need to balance business growth and budget. The solution's by no means universal across B2C. Industries vary significantly. You kind of need to use the current climate to decide, or to really force, I guess, budget diligence that hopefully you already initiated when the pandemic first hit in 2019, 2020. Because even, within the same industry, I just talked about how industries are different, but even within the same industry, market trends could yield different results. Like, for example, Coca-Cola earlier this year increased its marketing spend to create brand value, versus P&G cut back on advertising for products because they were really impacted by supply chain issues. So I think marketing teams today are really under a lot of pressure to demonstrate return on their efforts and investments, and structured marketing planning processes are really critical to that marketing success. And effective planning can really help marketing leaders kind of align their resources to the areas of the business with the highest impact and try to minimize disruptions as best as possible that are sometimes outside of their company's control.
Yeah, that completely makes sense. Yeah, no, and actually I noticed when I was doing some research talking to Forrester, that they were saying that even in the automotive industry, they were hiring B2B CMOs because they really wanted to get that metrics driven approach happening. So we're definitely seeing huge transformation, which is great. So appreciate that. Tempo really changed your decision-making processes internally.
Good question. And thank you for having me. And hello, everyone virtually. So just Land O'Lakes is a B2B as well as a B2C company. So that's a unique, not all companies share that. One of the things that has changed is that we've got great engagement, collaboration and synergy taking place. And that really helps us to know what's working and what's not working. And how we've done that is through a core team that we established last year. And that consists of corporate marketing, corporate finance, your accounting. We also bring in SMEs, subject matter experts, like the control group when needed. And our focus is really the metrics that make the biggest impact on the business and removing the silos so that we're all, even though we have these different businesses, we're working together and our processes are similar. So most importantly, though, we want to support the CMO's enterprise goals. And one of the things we did was a relaunch last year, which was doing a mindset shift.
Yes.
So yeah, we went from an allowance mindset to an investment mindset, which was relaunched then last year. And what that is it's basically taking it from what should we cut and versus to what is our strongest impact in being agile and moving those marketing funds at a faster pace, which leads to we're making faster decisions now. We went from days to make a decision in weeks to in-flight and even real-time answers in some cases. So yeah, that is brand team marketing specialists. Because of the robust reporting with inside Alacadia, they were working with a spreadsheet, Excel, and it was trying to do year-over-year comparison. They would do this monthly. And she said, Jackie, this would typically take me, a good day to complete, if not 2, to get all the different data points for our upcoming meeting for performance on this brand, on the different brands. And we went ahead, built a report, and boom, within a few clicks, she has all of the reporting there within minutes for that meeting.
Wow. So
really allows marketers more time to run versus do. And we're healthier. It limits budget anxiety and gives budget decision is making sense for budgeters.
Right. That's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah, we hear that too. Like a lot of people have, again, been using spreadsheets. I know myself in the past using spreadsheets, and you go to give the answer and you're like, I'm not sure if this is 100% right. But when it's all sort of digitized and everything else, and there's no way to have those, errors from spreadsheets, etc. Then again, you can make those decisions with a lot more confidence. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing that with us. All right. So I guess, you mentioned, again, more on the execution side, Jackie, but Jessica, really, why have so many organizations really focused more on the do side of the equation versus really that fundamental run side?
Yeah, I mean, my colleague, Katie Linford, probably said it best. The do parts are more fun. It's where the action happens, and it's what makes the news, if you will. But I think it's really easy to sort of mistake a set of activities, of executions, of due dates and deliverables as a plan. A marketing plan is supposed to ensure purposeful and strategic direction of your marketing efforts, and real planning does try to make sure that marketing resources are allocated in the best way with the best return to best meet marketing's goals. I think another sort of challenge of getting in the way of running overdoing is that marketing silos are very pervasive, and they yield very specialized marketing teams that are organized by channel or discipline, and they often overemphasize the execution because that's how they're incentivized to deliver, your goal on number of email opens or impressions or reach for a streaming TV campaign, or your reach on a podcast, for example. So I think for the B2C side, kind of exacerbating the issue is that, not only do they have to execute so quickly and often emerging and unproven channels or devices, and then try to back end metrics into that to demonstrate value. Proving value hasn't been as critical on the B2C side either, because a lot of brands are very focused on, softer metrics like brand lift or brand empathy. So I'll give you an example. Very classic ad or media buyers are often organized by channel because they have some specialty in search or social media or out of home, or digital display. And this is really valued, right? Because the media buyer becomes then very versed in benchmarks or the expected outcomes or how to optimize within the channel that they're focused on. And I think a lot of financial service companies and CPG companies who are organized by brand or by product line within that have specialized marketing people by those channels or by those disciplines. And then you end up sort of seeing this outcome that, maybe marketing owns email, but marketing and customer service have to share responsibility for a channel like social media. And then maybe you have developers in their pocket owning the app experience, or e-commerce owns the website experience. And it creates not only silos, but forces them to think about executing just within their silo. So it's sort of like a compounding problem. So yeah, that I feel like is some of the major factors.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. That's great. Yeah, and I think we've all witnessed it, of course. And what were you using before Uptempo, Jackie? That didn't
spreadsheets.
work.
And we still use some today. However, we've limited some of those spreadsheets that were error prone, that quickly led to chaos. I'm trying to understand, what changes were made in the spreadsheet and who made the changes. Yeah. Now in Allocaty, we just look at the audit trail and it's like, oh, this is what's happened. Here's the change. And, you're making real-time changes within your team, during a call or a meeting, versus, in a spreadsheet, you're not always, you'll have someone get in and you don't know what numbers changed or why that number changed. And then you're spending time losing productivity.
Yeah.
Trying to understand what changed.
Get the context in behind it for sure. And then there's no version control issues, right?
No, you look for version and then you got to download it versus seeing everything on one page.
Absolutely. Yeah, I understand that. What's the best place, Jessica, for B2C organizations to really start to get on this journey? Again, of really connecting that foundational level of having your operations, if you will, kind of singing like an orchestra. How does that happen? Or what's the best place to start?
Well, arguably, best place really varies by company, by industry, but I think ultimately marketing's efforts really need to be aligned to how the business plans to grow. And when any kind of annual planning starts, marketers should really be using feedback information from customer insights or, earlier upstream planning efforts that might include corporate strategy or revenue planning to really factor into how they're planning. I think often with B2C marketing, marketers have kind of followed a very traditional planning process. It's very sequential. It isn't agile by any means. often looks like, do some situation analysis, do some competitive analysis that should yield to your objectives. Then you should determine your target market. Then you can decide your positioning. Then maybe you decide your marketing mix, which channels to allocate to, and then you work on the budget, then you execute the program. So it's like a very, like I said, sequential process. But if you think about people-led planning, like planning with people first, that actually allows you some freedom from that very kind of lumbering linear process. It replaces that with a flywheel that the flywheel exhibits sort of more positive traits of being continuous and allowing for ongoing measurement that's supposed to optimize planning, and then allows you to use more fungible budgets. So I'll share a graphic that we published at Forrester here about sort of the people-led planning process. But ultimately, if you use sort of agile, small a, not big A agile, but if you use small a agile development principles, sorry, other way around, if you use big A agile, not small a, if you use big A agile development principles to guide your planning evolution, you can kind of start where it's 9 o'clock here, I guess, on this visual, but you can get to a point where development should be happening continuously, right? You should be iterating in small progressive changes rather than big wholesale changes that impact your linear planning process, which should then yield to interactions overriding processes. So it's less about process and it's more about the interactions you're having, about collaborators that are more critical. And then that should lead to working software over documentation, where you are spending more time developing tech, either internally or for the consumer, than writing explanations of how it works. So you're doing a better job of acting rather than constant planning and then adjusting later, which then yields to stakeholders contributing to development and allowing you to really expand your collaboration and impact across the business, because you're involving business colleagues throughout the project and not just in very rigid steps in the process. And you're really broadening who and what counts in that plan, which then leads back to development happening continuously. So it's sort of this virtual cycle of people-led planning, where it's about the people and less about the steps in the process. And I'll give you a really quick example of a travel company that we interviewed. They tried to use both in-house resources as well as external agency resources to enable their innovation. So they decided to kind of focus on a few very large initiatives at the start of the pandemic, because it was a travel company and it really ceased face-to-face interactions, and people had health concerns about sharing equipment and shared spaces. So this travel company kind of turned to digital to support a contactless customer experience. And the agency worked with this brand to focus on kind of 1 or 2 very specific efforts instead of sampling kind of a broad set of digital possibilities. So not trying to bite off more than they could chew. They were very hyper-focused on the handful, 1 or 2 things that they could execute against. And then when they did that, they increased the cadence of their planning milestones. So they replaced kind of the occasional, look back review with constant pulses of customer and business insights to really prevent surprises and enable any real-time decisions. So it was less about like backwards facing and reactionary and more about constant input and feedback in a continuous loop. And then they also planned better for media and experiences, considering both the media as well as the experiences that were really influencing the customers and trying to deliver on their brand promise. So it wasn't just about media spend, but it was about how that media manifests as an experience. So I know that feels a bit high level and hard to sort of wrap your head around as an anonymous example, but wanted to kind of plant that seed.
No, absolutely. I think that's the other thing that we've heard from customers too, is that they almost try to, when they go on this journey, they try to almost do too much, like throw the whole enchilada at it. And then everyone's like, it gets stops, right? Because it's too much. And kind of what you said in that travel example, it's really honing in on a couple areas and then doing those well, and then like sort of building out from there, which kind of creates these living plans, as you said. So I think that's really, really critical, because that's kind of why we kind of do what we sort of this crawl, walk, run approach. So that way there, again, it's not so much at the beginning, it's like get some traction. And then usually what we hear is like, oh, okay, it's working now. And now they want us to move a lot faster. So, but it's almost like getting that hook out there. You catch the little minnow, and then you're ready for the big whale to make some big sweeping changes, because it does require a lot of process change to happen. But I agree with you. Like, it's great. It's amazing that if you can start a little bit smaller and make sure that it's a continuous process from the people side, you'll have more success. But how do you really quantify the impact, I guess, of that connectedness, again, from planning all the way through to execution to performance management or measurement?
Yeah, I think that's the age-old question. And it comes back,
Yeah.
always comes back to being able to deliver for your consumers and your customers. I think marketers really need to be able to move and pivot faster and do it with intent,
Right.
which is impossible to achieve, by the way, if you're doing this in silos. Marketing operations is in an interesting position, because they are really the key to making this connectedness happen. They can understand the various stakeholder needs. They have visibility into that. They can influence alignment. They can drive prioritization when they see conflicting or overlapping needs. Marketing operations really does have marketing subject matter expertise that they can also use to help marketing kind of reach its business objectives and its priorities. So I think they're in a unique position to kind of be that foundation across marketing. But I will say, from a maturity curve standpoint, B2C marketing often starts with kind of content management as their first place in the maturity curve for marketing ops. They want to, streamline content planning. They want to streamline the workflows, creative review and approval process, asset management. They want to, reduce friction between marketing teams, production teams, legal and compliance teams, maybe external agencies. And so a lot of them feel like they are looking at more rudimentary time and cost savings metrics, simply whether it's like reducing email or messaging back and forth on Slack or Teams. And that alone, interestingly, justifies the investment in marketing operations. And then I would add an added layer. I would add an additional layer that many regulated companies, I think sort of that threat of audit or being out of compliance forces their investment in marketing operations. So they see it as kind of like a negative opportunity cost or the cost of doing business. So what I've just sort of described feels like more beginner stage in the maturity curve. And as they get more advanced, being able to really inform things like headcount and teams and staffing, that allows you to really then fully inform your future marketing plans and how you're executing that marketing. So I think overall, quantifying the impact is in various stages of maturity, and often on the B2C side, less mature than one would hope to see.
Yeah, that completely makes sense. Well, and they're also focused on the experience, right? So that, like you say, delivering the content, right time, right place to the right person, so that they make an impulse decision. So I want some butter because I saw the butter board, for example, and you're going through the grocery lineup. But again, in terms of the critical benefits, Jackie, that you've realized from implementing a solution like this to connect, again, all your processes, have that back end foundation, what would you say would be sort of the main takeaways that you've had so far?
I really liked what Jessica had to say there. The main takeaways for us have been the visibility, getting better insights on the current spend, also allowing us to have easy access to the financial information. And then we've got where it propels us to greater alignment across people, as well as our teams, our 5 different businesses. And it's creating efficiency for marketing operations, which, that's what I'm in. And that's what we want to do, is drive that efficiency that's going to save money for the organization and give us productivity gains. And this all ends up creating one central place, which is the source of truth.
And I know that when I talked to you before, you said you're in a hybrid model, right? From some people are in the office, some are working from home. So is that really made it a lot? You said visibility makes it a lot faster, again, to be able to see what's going on. And I'm sure your meetings, when you do meet, are more productive.
Absolutely.
Well. Yeah.
You're going to see that, I hear from the teams where they're just like, we're making those real-time decisions during our meeting. versus having to take notes and then go run to the spreadsheet and make updates to it and then resend out. Oh, absolutely. So it's real time things that are happening within the Allocadia tool.
Okay. We just got a question here too. Do you have a marketing ops maturity model you could share, Jessica? And I'm pretty sure you do. This just came from the audience.
We do have something in our research. I'd have to go dig it up.
That's totally fine. So yeah,
I
we'll follow
don't have
back
it
up
here in this webinar.
That's okay. We'll follow back up with the person that asked this question, but just came through, so I thought I'd ask. I guess are most companies, so you mentioned, again, maturity levels, not, it's varying levels, obviously within B2C, but at the end of the day, what the C-suite wants to hear is ROI. I'm giving you money. What are you doing with it? How are you really impacting growth for the business? So where do you feel that a lot of companies are at today on the B2C side, and what's really coming in the next year or two? Because it sounds to me like I'm hearing a lot of increasing urgency again and pressure to be able to show the value.
Yeah, I think, well, I have some data to answer that question. Let me share that with the. So yeah, let me first start by saying that marketing measurement is incredibly challenging. There's often, I talked about this earlier, a myopic focus on marketing that ignores other influential factors, extrinsic factors, how the economy is performing, what is impacting consumer demand. There are other influential factors that marketers don't necessarily consider in their marketing models. I think the organizational silos I talked about earlier also don't align across the customer journey, which makes marketing measurement really hard to understand the incremental value of marketing. Right. And then finally, I think marketers kind of lack skills and processes and technology needed to be fully insights driven across the business. They, again, contributing to that, or so I said, the siloed problem contributing to this sort of exacerbates that as well. What you can see here on the slide is sort of relative maturity of companies in their marketing measurement endeavors. Okay. And you can see from a sophistication standpoint, most of the companies surveyed clustered around the 3 score and the 4 score. And what we'd hope to get to is, more clustering around the 4 and the 5 scores. But to the points I just made earlier, marketing measurement is challenging. And I think the tricky thing is also that there's sort of no one size fits all definition of marketing ROI that sort of meets every business need. Like there's no standard answer. There's no boilerplate answer. You really need to start with sort of the business question you're trying to solve, and then adapt your ROI calculation to fit that use case. And that includes what kind of unified marketing measurement approach you're going to take. That could involve multiple different models, and multi-touch attribution or marketing mix modeling or time regression analysis, or it could be other customer predictive analytics all thrown into your model. And that varies again by company. So hopefully that helps with the answering your question.
No, absolutely. Thank you for that. And are most companies, can you explain, I guess, Jackie, in terms of, you've got integrations, obviously, with Allocadia, so you can feed into other systems, so you're not dealing with data silos as much, but you've got integrations with Allocadia, Sprinkler, and Datorama. Can you talk about that?
Yes, correct. We have a model that's plan, budget, execute. So Allocadia is that marketing investment management platform, that tool that we use, where we get the I out of the ROI. And it's also where that campaign tracking number, is the start. Yes. Yeah. So then you're going to have campaign, we've got a campaign naming convention, as well as the tracking number. So that helps us to align our spend and get that reporting that's accurate right off the bat. And then the Sprinkler tool itself, so Allocadia integrates, with Sprinkler. So that budget piece then flows into Sprinkler, which ultimately then goes to the execution and Datorama, which provides us the analysis tools. Yeah, for better decision making, gives us reporting benefits.
That's excellent. I think you said that really the planning kicks off in Sprinkler. And then I know you've got a unified tracking number that kind of connects all those pieces across. Okay. all the way through to performance. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and if you don't mind,
go
I
ahead.
can add. I think this is great to hear, because I think ultimately marketing needs to evolve from kind of that, not only that post-campaign measurement that that Jackie's team's already doing, but it really needs to evolve to planning and optimization insights, and then taking that data and using it to inform the planning. And I think once marketing can kind of gain confidence in their unified measurement models, and the results from those models and the recommendations from those models, they have to be able to extend their use case beyond sort of that tactical channel or campaign optimization. So
Okay.
yeah, I said it earlier, but I think unified marketing measurement really does allow companies to measure holistically to optimize business impact. And I think if it helps, actually, I can share
Yeah, sure. That'd be
again
great.
that the unified marketing measurement model outputs really should, again, drive planning and optimization. So what you see here on the slide, where you have planning, including scenario planning, allows you to sort of calculate optimal overall spend, evaluate any alternative allocations you might need, which should then inform budgeting, right? Which allows you to do some of that forecasting. And then leads to execution, which is, again, where you're doing the fun stuff we talked about earlier. And then you're also monitoring that real-time results, which should then, again, lead to the measurement. I just seeded that, where you are reporting business outcomes. And those are, again, determined often by the company, whether it's ROI or incremental contribution or contributions by channel, which then feeds back into the planning. So it really does need to be a virtuous cycle. Which ultimately what gets us to the holy grail, right? Which is that marketing measurement has to ultimately become business performance management, where marketing planning is really interlocked with financial planning, where, things like brand health that I talked about earlier being a little bit more of a softer metric actually acquires a financial dimension, like it's actually tied to sales or stock price or something. And then ultimately CMOs, the leader of the marketing organization, can really successfully manage this kind of customer obsessed vision and execution. So that, I think, is the end goal for marketing. I know it's a bit lofty, but that's what we've been trying to track here at Forrester.
Yeah, for sure. Are you seeing some more? Now, I know that was one of the parts of the question, was I think some predictive analytics or scenario planning. Are you seeing more customers doing that, just because obviously, again, the market's so uncertain? You seeing that happening more?
Sorry, is that a question for
It's
me?
a scenario. Yeah, it's a question for you, Jessica.
Yeah, I would say at a more basic level, and not for basic to sound bad, but there maybe it's more in a channel specific level or within a specific part of a media plan, but from a, I would say, broader marketing organization or department level, I don't see it as commonly. And part of it, again, is due to those sort of siloed issues that we talked about earlier, lack of coordination. And so the budgets are sort of parceled out to the individual channels or silos, and then it's sort of from there you run and operate within your channel.
100%. Okay. And Jackie, I guess, obviously the budget side, especially that you're in charge of, does affect other areas, in particular marketing, finance. So how has your relationship improved?
Oh, with finance, accounting, even leadership, stronger, great working relationships that did not exist prior. So it was kind of like finance had theirs, and you came to them when you wanted to see, like, hey, where am I spending and what taxonomy and what do I have left? Where now there's collaboration that's happening. And we're speaking the same language. We added agreed upon terminology that was set forth when we created the core team, so that we knew what plan meant, what finance target means, what's our commitment, what's actual, what's on track mean, what's working versus what's non-working, those types of things we all agreed upon. So we would, ultimately have that same language when we talk back and forth. And then we've improved our processes by having finance being involved with the integrations. We've been able to clear up assumptions that accounting had about marketing, which ultimately led to a day being able to move up the reconciling process. I know inside Allocadia, we can certainly reconcile within, in some cases, within an hour on some businesses, which would take sometimes several days because the information wasn't all there before. So it's become a source of truth, and it's increased the efficiency. So we are no longer duplicating processes where, accounting's doing one thing and then here's marketing doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's now, we know that marketing's doing this, so no longer does, accounting. So definitely increased efficiency.
Oh, that's amazing. So
Real
you're getting
time.
real-time updates pretty much with the finance. Okay, that's amazing. That's great. Is this something, Jessica, that you hear as well from customers? Just, I mean, obviously it's kind of somewhat expected that you're going to be improving alignment across the business, but yeah, I'm just curious if you have any comments.
I think there's always that desire. Like, no one will say, no, we don't want alignment. It's it's something everyone strives to achieve. I think that there's just varying degrees of success there. And often it comes down to the leadership in the company, but also how the company is structured, right? Like when you have massive companies that are decentralized, like often CPG or automotive or multi-location retail or restaurants, it's harder to achieve alignment, versus a more centralized company or a smaller company, for example. So I think alignment for sure is, everyone would like, peace, love, and prosperity.
Yeah, exactly.
But how it's done is so widely dependent on company size, industry, structure of the company. And some are okay with having a decentralized model where alignment actually happens within each individual brand in the portfolio or within each region of the global company. And that's totally fine for them. And that alignment works because that's how their budget allocation is planned or parceled out. So yeah, I think the answer is complex.
Yeah, there's not one size fits all in that area. Well, thank you for that. I do have a question that came in here that they've heard that there's a change to the CMO positioning coming of Chief Revenue Officer in the last few years. Is it still an impetus for this?
Jackie, I don't know if you have thoughts about that.
I don't, Jackie, if you've heard about that.
Yes, I did hear about that. I want to say it was last year, within the last couple of years, but we have not gotten to that model here at Land O'Lakes.
Okay.
Yeah, so my opinion is that you can call the title what you want. I mean, there's a chief experience officer, chief digital officer, but ultimately what I would look at is what's under their purview. Like, what are they responsible for? Never mind what the title says. Chief customer officer, what does that mean? Is it really marketing, or is it CX, or is it customer service, or is it, I guess in my mind, it's more important to understand what the remit is, the responsibilities are. Marketing, but I'll say this, marketing needs to be better about managing the financial aspect of marketing. And marketing needs to be more connected to the rest of the company, including product, and being able to be involved with pricing decisions, and not just focused on the other sides of the 4 Ps, like promotion and place, that they've been so pigeonholed into managing. Like, they really need to think holistically more about those classic 4 Ps of product, price, placement, promotion, because they kind of relinquished control over product and price when they have very much an opportunity to be involved in that, being so customer facing on the front lines of understanding customer needs and customer insights. And it should very much be equal 4 Ps under marketing's purview.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's really, again, back to driving growth, right, for the whole company. But I've definitely seen, like Jackie, you talked about sort of with the marketing finance team. I think the issue is marketing finance, they do speak different languages, right? So GL codes and everything else. I mean, and I didn't go to school for finance, but obviously, like you say, it's very important to really understand that. But this helps kind of connect both sides. We had one FP&A guy tell us, he's like, I use your system more than NetSuite because I get all that detail. And the issue is marketing is very different. We look at it as committed when we've decided to spend it versus when it actually hits the book. So So yeah, thank you both very much for your time today. It gave us some fabulous insights. I always love the research slide too. So it's really good to show us some of those different diagrams that you had. And we'll definitely, if there's any other questions that come out of this, we're happy to answer those and follow up with you directly. But we hope that you've got everything you need here in terms of just like the high level overview and sort of some practical experience that Jackie shared with us on really how to connect all your processes together. So for those that actually want to stay and see Uptempo in action, we invite you to stay on this call. And I'll turn it over to Owen, who's really going to show you how it works within our product.
No worries.
So thank you, Owen. Nice Irish accent you'll enjoy.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think next time we need to get me like some captions or something just to make sure that we that everybody's on page. But great. Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for having me on. I'm going to take you through just a quick overview of the Allocadia platform, hopefully referencing some of the thoughts of Jackie and Jessica, which were really great. So I really enjoyed that so far. So let's jump in. So perfect. I wanted to introduce you to Donnybrook Technologies, a great example and a fictitious company, but as I said, a great example of how customers find value in Allocadia as a planning, budgeting, and investment tracking solution. What I'm going to try to portray today is how Donnybrook transitioned from their previous state of disconnected, disjointed tools and moved to a more purposeful planning tool and spend management tool, Allocadia. Donnybrook had a pretty well built out tech stack, which included Workfront for all their project management and resource management needs, Salesforce for CRM uses, and LinkedIn and Google Ads for all their digital advertisements. In terms of their fintech stack, they use Coupa for raising those POs and SAP for all their finance and ERP needs. Something I will call out, it's important to note that Donnybrook is a complex matrix org with a lot of complexity based around international teams, shared functions, which then in turn adds to the complexity of marketing plans and budgets. And the problem at Donnybrook was in fact that the text they were using to manage their marketing plans and budgets, tools like spreadsheets or PowerPoint, were creating unnecessary headaches for marketers and finance alike when it came to that reconciling and understanding where budgeting was. All this led to a nightmare of we're working at disjointed spreadsheets and a real difficulty in knowing where things were standing. So what we started to do was provide them with real-time insights by taking them out of those spreadsheets and into online activities plans. These online activity plans then lay nested within their hierarchy as their hierarchy was built out as was, and we built that platform around it. So skipping over here and now to the platform itself, we're going to take a look at this as if Donnybrook were going through a fiscal period, starting with the planning, then into that invest and execution phase before finishing off with the optimize phase. Okay, so here we are at the home tab. And
I'm not seeing your screen, sorry. Is anyone else?
Apologies, this should be coming up.
I'm seeing a screen.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure. Sorry about that one.
Okay, no worries. All good. Awesome. So here we are at the home tab. And this is where we're going to build out that hierarchy. So if we look at Donnybrook, very similar to Land O'Lakes, as Jackie pointed out, it's both B2C and B2B. Again, here are those core functional departments, and within those are our regional areas and our teams. I don't want you guys to get bogged down in the detail here. We'll kind of shape this hierarchy for your own individual company or process to make it work for you as best as possible. The hierarchy serves a few key purposes. Firstly, getting the right people into the right plans. For anyone to have access to each individual plan, they must be invited by the appropriate authority, and then they can only see the plans that they have been invited to. But of course, for CMOs or VPs, they can see the complete plan just for their visibility and clarity. Also, Donnybrook is an international team, so that requires them to be able to plan in different currencies. We can ensure this, ensuring that a master finance table is handled in the background automatically. Okay, hierarchy built and Allocadia understands how you want to plan a budget. So let's really get into it. So starting with budgeting, we're going to use the North American team here and bring out this roll-up panel. It's really important to say, and something you're going to hear me say a lot now in the next couple of minutes, but Allocadia is very configurable to how each organization thinks about that budgeting and planning process. So for Donnybrook, they receive their budgets direct from cost centers, and they do it on a quarterly basis. Also, finances attaches a Q1 pipeline target. Again, this is configurable to each customer in the way that they think about the budgeting process. So it may look different to different teams. Perfect. Hierarchy is built out, budgets have now been allocated, and it's time for the marketing team at Donnybrook to plan out their year. So we moved over to the activities tab. I want you to think of this as the marketer's new workspace. What were disjointed spreadsheets are now online plans connected here within the Allocadia platform with all the plans available to those who have access. We have customizable KPIs here at the top that could include metrics or what the impact marketing is having on business or strategic plans. But I really want to focus on this table here, where the North American team is building out their events, their digital advertisements, ABM, and direct mail. Just like in spreadsheets, I can start inputting line items for my specific webinars or events, and we can start to capture our planned spends throughout the year. What's most important here again, and this is where I'm going to say it's customizable, is the details panel. This details panel is the starting point of where we start to capture all the data. So I can call out for my webinar here, it's most relevant to demand creation. It's also most relevant to the North America region. It's an event and a digital event activity type, and it's focused on these couple of stages of the customer's journey. Whatever is important to how you want to track your data, we'll make it work here within the details panel. And what this will provide is reports like these for an investment planning summary, where you can see up to date live how we're set to plan throughout the year. Are we meeting targets? Are we planning accordingly to certain products or the customer journey or personas? Again, this is customizable to the way you guys currently think about planning process and the data and metadata that you want to capture. Cool. So plans have been made. And now, as Jessica alluded to, it's time to get down to the fun part of marketing, the actual doing of it. So let's get into an investment tracking view. So as you can see, things have slightly changed here on our view. We now have an up-to-date plan, which we can't change. We have our forecast, our commit, and actuals columns. However, all our plans are still intact, but we can't change our plan because this is going to provide us with a key data point going forward. We can absolutely update our forecast, understanding that the best plans can be changed at the last minute. So we've forecasted $4,000, or we planned for $4,000 for this digital promotion. However, we're forecasting the change. We have these customizable tags to add a little bit more context for the marketer. And we have an ability to create different scenarios. So for forecasting for the different scenarios that may come out throughout the year. So here again, we are going to start talking about how we connect to different tools within the marketing tech stack. Specifically talking about our Coupa Connect button or our PO raising button for any of your PO raising platforms. So I have my digital promotion and my line item selected. This is my details panel here again. And if I scroll to the bottom, I have my action buttons. This Coupa creation feature is also configurable to how you're currently raising your POs. This is powered from Coupa itself. So it's as if the marketer is going into Coupa and raising a PO. All these drop-down menus are exactly as it is here. Now, what's important is we're not just trying to make life easier for marketers, but what Allocadia is also looking to do is add in that ID. Every line item in Allocadia has this unique ID. By injecting this ID into the PO, it enables us to bring back data from your financial tools. Working with finance, we'll set up 2 automatic exports, one bringing in your POs and another bringing in your actuals. Because Allocadia has been able to do this, as you can see now with our CXO Empowerment Direct Mail series, we now have up-to-date committed to what is currently sitting in PO, and we have up-to-date information when it comes to actuals. And this, again, we will see here now when we take a look at our investment tracking summary, that we'll be able to see where our money is currently sitting, whether it's currently sitting in PO what's forecasted, and what's been actualized. And again, getting down to this different investment mix, we can start to see where we're currently sitting in our spend through our different data points that we've been collecting, like objective or customer journey or by segments. Super. And now we're going to get into the optimize phase, where we've started collecting the data, but now we really want to start making it meaningful. So if we go back into my event here, I love working with these webinars. What we can start to do is start to connect the data point, the investment data points that we have already, and connect it with your single source of truth for performance. So in this case, let's just say it's Salesforce. What we can do is, with a simple drop-down menu, connect the information together. So we have that investment information and connect it to the return information that you're getting elsewhere, which can be really powerful for the different views that we're just about to see. So if we take a look at some of our campaign performance, tactical ROI, what we're going to be able to break down in simple views, as you can see, powered here by Salesforce, is that little pockets of information in terms of how teams are doing or how regions are doing in terms of the pipeline we're creating, which is really vital, which a lot of marketers have found very vital in terms of when it comes to those business reviews or quarterly end reviews, and they need to know what teams are doing well, what's working, what's not working, and how we need to shift our budgets or shift our money going elsewhere. So if we scroll down to the bottom here, this is just pausing on me, which is great. What I really want to get you the idea of is that by connecting these all together, it creates a simple view for everyone to see what's going on in the business. Those reports that we saw just there are powered by an embedded BI tool, and our professional services teams and our CSMs are dedicated to make sure that they're all built for you, so that we all do all the heavy lifting to ensure that the reports you guys want to see will be there and waiting for you. That was a very quick overview, so hopefully I'll be chatting to more of you soon, but Amy, I will hand it back to you.
Okay, sounds great. Well, thank you everyone for attending. We really appreciate it. And a special thank you, of course, to our J team, Jackie and Jessica. So nice to have, again, both the theory kind of piece and really how it should work, and then also the practical side, how it happens in companies as well. So we appreciate you doing that. We will have a survey that pops up at the end of this webinar. So if you could take a couple minutes just to fill it out, that helps us really improve our webinars and any information we send to you in the future. We will also send a copy of this recording by email tomorrow. So if you wanted to play it back or send it to anyone else within your team, that would be great. Again, reduce those silos, share the information and get it out there. But we hope that all of you have an absolutely wonderful day, safe day, and all the best to you. Thank you for joining again. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.